I'm Eric DeBaradinas for a WYLN Sports Special, joined by Hazleton native Joe Maddon, manager of the Chicago Cubs. And now, for the third time, we get to introduce you as Manager of the Year in your first year in Chicago. First year in the National League, what did you learn about yourself as manager, enjoying a lot of success, advancing to the NLCS, and winning that award?
I always thought that I knew that I liked the National League style of baseball. Everybody has all these arguments regarding DH and making both sides a DH kind of league. I hope that never happens. It's a much better version of baseball. National League baseball is. It's much more thought-provoking. I really hope or wish that we get away from these thoughts that you have to score 7-6 or 6-5 or 5-4 to entertain people. Like Gene Mock used to talk about the intellectual electricity between the mound and home plate. If you're a real baseball fan, you understand that. So it's not just necessarily about scoring runs, it's about all the other components of the game that are happening all the time. So the National League is chock full of that stuff, man, and I really do dig it.
So last year we talked, you were talking World Series with your team in spring training when maybe other people weren't. Now, I don't know if you're aware, the Cubs are in Vegas, the favorites to win the World Series. How do you approach it? Is it any different than last year?
Honestly, no. That's where I think that the trap lies, is that you feel like you have to do something differently based on other people's expectations. It's about our expectations. What do we think? How do we feel about this? Our goal is going to be to win the World Series. I promise you 29 other teams are going to say the same thing. So what if somebody chooses you or deems you to be the favorite? That really doesn't mean anything, honestly. It's how we take care of the day that matters, how we manage expectations. I like expectations. I like the word pressure. I think those two words have positive connotations to them. And I really believe our guys got to understand that last year. So moving forward, man, I hope that we're always the World Series favorites.
Last year, Lester. This year, Hayward, and a bunch of free agent signings.
Zobrist.
A lot of young talent on that team, and entering a lot of them for their sophomore campaigns. What's the best and the worst part about managing young talent like that, and you have a lot of it in Chicago?
The best, obviously, you have a lot of energy normally. They normally, there's some wood around here, they stay healthy because their bodies are more flexible and younger. The trap, again, is that sometimes you would never expect certain guys to change their attitude or their thought process. Oh, this guy will never change. This guy gets it. I'm talking about a young player. Then all of a sudden you show up the next year and they just are processing the day a little bit differently, whereas they may start taking some things for granted. That'd be the trap. So you already mentioned Johnny Lester. There's John Lackey. There's David Ross. There's Miguel Montero. Jason Hayward's only 26, but he's a veteran. There's some guys there that I really believe will not permit that to happen beyond me. When you're a manager of a team like this with the balance between youth and veterans, I get to do my job. I don't have to do like everybody else's job. I get to do my job. And that's going to be the emphasis during camp. You're the shortstop, you do your job, which means you show up at the right time, you do your proper work prior to the game beginning, whether it be physical, video, mental, whatever it might be, you do your job. And you go out and you play, and nobody has a problem with that. So when you get a bunch of young pros that understand that it's their responsibility to do their job, then the manager gets to manage.
Chicago Cubs, no longer the lovable losers, the favorites. Joe Maddon likes being the favorite. Joe Maddon, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You got it.